Hey, what's going on, family? Look, we're excited about this conversation. As we're going through Black History Month, we know the Black experience extends way farther than the month of February. And so we are just really looking forward to how these conversations will allow you and your friends and your family to continue the dialogue about what it means to live into the Black experience, what it means for us to have the dialogues that help us grow and develop, and maybe sparks a movement inside of us that shows up beyond us. And so I'm excited today because we're going to talk about a topic that is really new to me, but one that has still impacted my life. And I'm with somebody who is beloved by our church community. You might have encountered him through his financial background. He is a financial expert. He leads our budget boot camp class. He is one who has helped many, hundreds now, empowered to become financially free, financially strategic as a community as a result of his service and sacrifice and knowledge. We've had our community pay off almost $3 million in collective debt. So his contributions to this community and his contributions to our city have been phenomenal. But beyond that, you may not know that he is also a renowned artist and creator, a curator, and somebody who's recently launched his own brand new initiative, brand business, which he'll talk about in a moment, called the Art Scene. Join me in hollering at our boy, Ron Stokes. What's good, Ron? How you feeling, man?
Man, can't complain. Happy to be here, man.
Man, happy to have you. Happy to have you. First and foremost, I want to just acknowledge Ron has on the best outfit I've seen all week. I just want to acknowledge that from jump, the custom dunks. I'm going to step my game up for the next shoot. I just want to say that I felt insecure when you walked in. But if you know anything about Ron, he going to come fly. So I'm grateful to be sitting next also to one of the flyers. I want to add that to his bio. Man, how's life been, man? How's everything going? We're going to jump into the conversation, but I mean, you got a daughter in college now. Man. You got kids growing up. Like, just how are you? How's life? How you feeling?
Hey, life is good. God is good. Plain and simple, man. I cannot complain. Appreciate the introduction.
Yeah.
Now I feel like I got to continue to step my game up now.
I just named the fact.
You can't give me an introduction like that. Now I show up with an old pair of shoes. Man. Nah.
We're going to be good. Now, as I mentioned, man, you are known for a lot of things in our city. Mm-hmm. And people might not know just how much you do beyond your normal 9 to 5, as a voice, as a figure around different communities, different people groups. We talked about it, but you're an artist, you're a painter, you're creative, you're a curator, and you have many, many collaborations you work on. But much of that work, or a good bit of that work, also intersects with social justice and helping create and empower different voices of the Black community. Can you just talk about where that passion comes from? Like, how did all that start for you?
I mean, so my background in art, you know, I started as a graffiti artist. Yep. And graffiti artists are known for putting out the word on things that aren't always covered, right? Mm-hmm. And so it just grew. As I grew in my art field, it just came naturally to continue to bring voice to things. So as I grew up in it and saw, like, all right, what's going on here in this art world that, you know, the graffiti artist wasn't like, as a Black artist, we ain't always like, so it just continued to grow from that. So started at a very young point in my career and just carried it through, you know?
Yep. Yeah. How young were you when you started doing graffiti art? I just think it's, you know, important for the people to know how many laws you broke.
I know, they look at me now. It's funny, I had a conversation with my mom the other day. She was like, how many laws did you break? I said, Mom, actually, I didn't get caught much, you know, it was only one time I got actually caught. But, no, so I always say, because it all stems from people go, well, when did you start as an artist? And I always tell everybody, at 13, I wrote my name on the building. You know, not encouraging others to do that, but I'm saying that's how my journey started, and that's how it grew from there. So 13, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I've grown since then.
Let's talk art in general, just to kind of jumpstart conversation, because I know, like many, I'll speak for myself, I've appreciated the arts. And I think it's very easy to talk about the arts as a general landscape. And throughout these conversations this month, we're going to be talking about it through the landscape of music, and we're going to talk about it through the landscape of politics, and we're going to talk about it through other contexts. But let's talk specific to art, because that has so many different expressions in and of itself. What role has it played in the Black community? Again, whether it's photography, painting, music, and what do you think its importance has been to Black and brown people throughout history?
I mean, it's been our voice. When other people wouldn't give us the chance to speak, we had art. If you look, everyone's home had that picture of Martin Luther King Jr. in it, right? Everybody's home had that picture of Jesus in it.
Yeah.
That was some of our first interactions with Jesus, was through that picture on our grandma's wall.
For sure.
We didn't know who it was until we got older in life.
Yeah.
But art has always given the voice to things. Even it's the camera that is shown the lens, even when the camera wasn't pointed in our direction.
Woo. Yeah.
So, man, that was good.
That was good. Yeah. That was good.
But no, I mean, but really, it's really given us voice. I mean, all you need is a paintbrush. There's no limits. It was the original social media.
Wow.
You know, before there was an Instagram, there was a dude with a paintbrush.
Yeah.
And he was able to paint something that thousands of people could like and comment on. You know? So it's highly integral and highly integrated in our culture and all cultures. I mean, you look back at some of the very earliest pieces of history. We know those things through cave drawings and different art that has been, you know, throughout the years, whether it's been sculpture and whatnot. That's how we're able to look back in the past and truly know.
Wow.
So,
you know, I think it's interesting, even for me as a pastor, I think we often appreciate the Bible at a high level. But when you step into the intricacies of it, I think we miss how much God speaks to the art of even his church and his temple. If you look through the Old Testament, there are so many moments where God tells his people to build his temple. But what we miss is, because these are parts we skip over in scripture, like we're reading it, it's like, they're saying a whole bunch of little stuff about this cubic meter and this color. No, God was intentional about, like, I want this to be this, and I want this to be designed this way, and I want this to be this color, and I want this to have this fabric. And God literally is like picky about like the design of it. And so so it's just so interesting to think how throughout culture, throughout history, how important art is. For you, as a personal artist, let's take that a little bit further. What drives your artistic approach, and what degree does your own cultural experience influence your art?
So, I mean, my own art it's all about telling stories. Every painting I've painted, there's a story in it, whether it's fully abstract or whether there's some characterization in it, there's a story I'm telling. The beauty of art is that people can see it, and even my own pieces, they see it and they kind of find their own story in it, right? Yeah. And so, but again, it's just me telling those stories. And, you know, I heard something once that if an artist falls in love with you and paints a picture, you live forever, right? And it's the very same. I'm able to tell stories that live long beyond me. There's a painting I painted, one of my more popular ones. It's a painting where half of it is Martin Luther King and the other side is Malcolm X. A lot of people know that painting of mine.
Still in my thunder, I was gonna go there later.
But it's a story that I thought was important to tell because I was a grown man before I realized Martin Luther King and Malcolm X only spent mere moments on this planet together.
Wow.
But you would think they were crossing paths all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, you in Alabama? I'm in Alabama too. What you doing over here? But no, one time in their entire lives they passed, and I didn't learn that till I was a grown man. How better to tell that story?
Wow.
Painted a painting. Now every time I show that painting, people are learning that story.
Yeah. That I mean, I knew that, but to now know the inspiration of how that informed what you've created is just crazy to think about. And I think it's also empowering. I'm thinking about like my son, who is now really into art. Now I'm also aware that he's 8, and you know, and he may want to be a policeman tomorrow. but this past Christmas, all he wanted to do was, I mean, this past 6 or 7 months, all he's wanted to do is draw. Yeah. And it's been, so for Christmas, it was like an easy thought to be like, man, we got him this like art set. And he'll walk up to us and say something like, you know, oh no, those are pastels. And I'm like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like, who says that at 8? But he is, like the way I even inspire him now to watch TV, I'll say something like, hey man, draw me a picture. And I mean, he runs at the opportunity to be able to create art. And so now, you know, my wife and I are trying to stoke that fire in him. Like, hey, you know, what can we do to continue to cultivate that gift? But it's crazy to think about he's already telling his own stories. And I mean, and every time he draws something, he knows how to explain what he felt, what he was trying to say, who it was about, or these are my friends at school, or this is a superhero, or watching one painting or art that he did and piece of work, and he was like, yeah, this person is bigger because the villain is always bigger than the superhero. And then we got into a conversation, we're like, why is that? You know, and I'm like, but he's having these conversations. So that's just so amazing to think about. And again, I just want to say on behalf of many, just pause here and say, we're grateful for your art. You know, I've been able to come to an art exhibit you've done before at the Arts, and I've been able to know many who have been able to engage with your work. And I think it's cool for us who know the artists, because we're like, man, like it gives us a chance to see other sides of you. So thank you for the gift that you've been to our city, our church, our community in that way. Now, as we think about where we're at, particularly in the Black experience in America, and just what that has looked like to be illuminated, really, since 2020, there's been a kind of a resurgence of the Black justice movement. I think, you know, we've all known the reasons why. As we start to think about this, you just recently were a part of curating an exhibit called Race in Richmond, where you guys kind of highlighted racial identity. What was this exhibit all about, and why was it important, in your opinion, for our community to experience it?
So it was an amazing exhibit, Race in Richmond, housed at the 𝐂𝐓𝐄𝐄. I curated it along with Ashley Williams, and we brought in a number of instrumental creatives from photography, videography, and painters as well. And the concept of this exhibit was to illuminate what is racism, how it affects us, and how do we heal from it. And we were able to do that through a series of different exhibits and experiences that immersed people through what that experience is like. And it was, yes, it was because it was curated by a group of Black voices. It was predominantly that direction, but there were voices from every ethnicity that were able to contribute to the conversation. The goal was to bring awareness and to bring healing. It's amazing how racism plays out and affects so many people in so many different ways. One part of the exhibit, we had a short film that people were asked a simple question: what is racism? How do you know racism exists? And to hear the answer from Black, white, Pakistani, young, old, to hear a young boy talk about how he experienced racism already was powerful. And for others to sit through that and understand. Because even me, through all I've been through in my life, to see a younger guy talk about his own experience was powerful. But as you move through the exhibit, we got to the end of the exhibit where it showed the beauty in the complexities and the diversity. We all don't have the same story. And so often the stereotypes put us all in this one category. And to see people from so many different walks of life, it was beautiful. I was very happy and honored to be a part of that exhibit and curate it.
Now, I just want to stay there for a second. This wasn't one of the questions I sent you, but I think it's important that we think it through, which is how does racism affect the Black artist, and how has it affected you? And you could take that question in, I'm sure, in many directions. But I think about racism, and I might not think about art first, right? As somebody who's not in the world, I'm like, well, I see how it affects education, or I see how it affects. But how does it affect our art? And have you experienced or had any experiences that you're willing to share from that landscape?
I mean, God, we could talk about that one question alone all day. I think it's definitely affected. Like, I never forget, during the pandemic, we're locked in the house. My studio's in the house. You thought I would have painted 1 million paintings. I'm locked in the house with nothing to do. But I never forget, through that racial unrest, the civil unrest, and just looking at the world, and I couldn't paint at all. I was like, this is too heavy. And throughout my life, I've experienced racism in the art world, whether it's been as a graffiti artist, where, I never forget one time we got stopped, a group of friends, we were all artists. I never forget, they let the white guy go.
Wow.
And arrested the Black guy.
Wow.
We all in the same group. And so, in so many different ways. But no, racism has always been there. The beauty of being an artist is, once again, you can't tell me how to paint a picture. So I'm gonna get my voice out and I'm gonna get my message out.
Yeah.
And that's the beauty of being an artist in the midst of all that.
Man, that is just such a unique lens. It's just exciting, I think, for on so many levels, because it's a world now that we're entering with you.
Yeah.
That might be foreign to some. And what I really want people who are watching this and listening to this to feel is that it is so easy for us to underappreciate an expression of our history and our culture and our lineage that has been a voice and a medium by which for us to be empowered for so long. I mean, when you started talking about our grandmothers, I mean, not just seeing Jesus on a picture, but I remember the first time I saw a black Jesus was through a painting.
But it couldn't be edited.
Yeah.
You can't tell me I can't paint a picture of black Jesus.
Yeah.
And so if Jesus is black to me, I'm painting a picture of black Jesus. And no one's gonna stop me.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of the expression of art. And for us to find solace in that and to find community in that, because we see ourselves in that. Again, we all translate it differently. One person will see that painting of black Jesus and think, man, that's home, that's comfort.
Yeah.
Another person will see it as hate. You know, oh, that's horrible. Why would they? That's blasphemy. Why would they do that? You know, that's the power of art, man.
Yeah, I am legitimately, even as I prepared for this conversation, I don't think I was prepared for how the conversation would influence me.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking now through the many different moments where I could have underappreciated, right? Just how necessary art has been. As you're talking, I'm just saying, you can't edit it. Like that's so crazy because we live in a culture where everything is filtered through I don't like the way you said that, so I can take a clip of it. Like even for me, I influence the world through the medium of communication, which can always be manipulated. Like every recording, people can take 30 seconds of it
out of context
and say, this is what he said. That's not what I said. You gotta watch I talked for an hour.
Yeah.
And that's what you got. But when you put a paintbrush to a canvas or my son's pastel pencil or whatever, it's like, man, that stuff, you don't, unless you destroy it, you can't change or manipulate what they have produced. It's just a powerful thought. And it's a form of resistance in and of itself that I think is just so amazing to observe. That's crazy. Okay. I got stuck there myself. All right. So let's talk about this a little bit, because one of the things I think that happened in 2020, and I don't want to even assume that everybody who's watching this, I know we have many community partners. As a pastor, I know I get the opportunity to talk to many pastors who are not black, but white pastors and Hispanic pastors and Asian pastors who are learning about the black struggle in a 3-4 year swing. And maybe that's because of willful ignorance for some of them. For some of them, it's because of upbringing. For some of them, they are deconstructing their racism. But having that opportunity, I was amazed at how many people I still was educating, still was talking to. And one of the things I thought was really encouraging was it felt like, and I would be interested to see if your sentiments were the same, that black art kind of reemerged as a center point for the black struggle in 2020, 2021. It was through photography. You know, when we think back historically, when we look at Martin Luther King Jr. and the many marches and movements he led, they tell people all the time that if people wouldn't have seen the horrors of the Edmund Pettus Bridge, it might not have shifted the country the way it did. And so, but those were pictures that nobody could change. Those videos, content, is all of these different things. And so I think 2020 was kind of this reemergence. Like I saw photographers tell this story that you got a chance to see when you saw tear gas and when you saw, I mean, it was like, man, it just, the parallels were, I mean, it grieved everybody's heart. So I just would love to hear from your standpoint. One, do you feel like you're feeling like we're seeing the reemergence of the necessity of the artist in this day and age social justice movement?
I think yes. I think social injustice definitely was illuminated on a higher level, but also I think as a culture, I've seen a shift in that we are now more appreciative of Black art.
Yep.
There's an initiative I'm actually helping with this year to teach our own culture about the value of investing in art and appreciating art. Because so often, you know, I don't want to put you on blast, but where'd you get most of the paintings in your house?
Most of them like Target.
You know what I mean?
Target,
That's
yeah.
where we get our paintings.
Yeah.
We get them from Target.
Yeah.
But we don't know or understand that there are artists in our community that we can invest in that are telling the stories that we want to see on our own walls. We just go to Target and get that mass-produced painting.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And nothing wrong with that, but there is quality. And I think whether it's been through music, where you have artists now talking about their own investing in art, you know, Jay-Z who's buying a Basquiat, you know, and then we're like, oh, it grows in value?
Yeah.
You mean I can buy something that's an investment? And even the concept of investing in our own culture has grown.
Yeah.
So I think the appreciation of art as a whole has grown in our culture. And even with social media, us being able to see so many different types of things. So no, it's at a different level. It's really cool to see.
Yeah.
But I'm enjoying this new era of appreciation of art.
Yeah. I just want to, can you take Tuesday, not a master class, but like an intro just thought about supporting Black art? Because there might be somebody who's watching this who is saying like, okay, man, I want to turn that corner. Like I want to kind of invest, or I want to kind of get something else. What's the first
simple
thing?
investing.
Yeah.
I used to sell a painting for $200. Now I sell a painting for $2,000. If you bought that $200 painting, how much you think it's worth now?
It's worth $2,000.
But also the concept of investing in artists who are telling the stories that need to be told. I can't tell the next story if I ain't got no room in my house for the next painting to paint.
Yeah.
So not only are you investing to create value in your own collection, you're also investing in that artist to continue to tell stories.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's a twofold. You know, I think I'm a big proponent of investing in artists and in investing in allowing them to continue and having space for them to continue to tell those stories as well.
Whew. I love it. I love it. Let's stick with even what we're seeing in this day and age, and I want to kind of come to your wheelhouse, or the 13-year-old you, the graffiti artist, the you know, we've talked about painting, we've talked about again a myriad of expression of art, but also art as a form of resistance. I think one of the most powerful images I've ever seen in our city, in Richmond, was the art, because that's what I thought it was, that covered the Robert E. Lee statue in the heart of 2020, and it said something about the line that we had drawn in the sand as a community to say we're claiming space, we're telling our story, and there's nothing you can do about it. I'd just love to hear from you a little bit about how do you see art continuing to show up in the justice movement as we have new artists coming up, as my son might be a part of that movement one day, or as you are mentoring down another generation of artists who are now finding their voice. What would you want them to know about what part is going to play in the justice movement?
That you can't hide no more. You can't hide those stories. You can't hide what we're doing. You can't hide the injustices, because an artist is going to paint about it, and it's going to show somewhere, and someone's going to see it, and that story will continue to live. I mean, that was the power of that monument. I honestly hated to see it go down in the state that it was when they took it down. Because by then it had already been reclaimed and recreated. It no longer told the story of him. It now told our story. And that's the beauty of art. So often I talk to people and they say, well, I'm not an artist. Yes, you are. Well, my painting don't look like that. That's because you're using your own voice. The same way you and I walk in the room, I'm gonna say, hey, when I walk in the room, what do you say?
What up?
But we're both saying hello.
Yeah.
We're both talking. We're both contributing to the conversation. Art is the same way. I'm gonna hold my brush one way, you're gonna hold it a different way, but at the end of the day, we're both gonna tell a story. And so that's the power in that art. It's gonna continue to illuminate. How many people knew the painting that Bisa Butler created of Breonna Taylor.
Yeah.
That's in the museum right now. And so many people know her through that image, not a photograph of her, but a painted image of her. And it showed her in a light that was remarkable, you know? And I'm sorry, not Bisa Butler, Amy Sherrod. But yeah, someone in the comment just now said, hold up. But
and it took that 30-second clip.
you know what I mean? He don't know nothing. But no, I mean, but again, artists are just illuminating these subjects and these topics and creating huge conversation points around it. So, yeah.
You know, I remember the first time I went to the Louvre in Paris.
Yep.
And one of the most amazing things about that experience was when I went into the room where the Mona Lisa was. You would think that it is the biggest painting in the room. But you walk into this massive room and there are hundreds of people all huddled around to the point you can't even see.
Yeah.
And there are paintings that are the size of this entire room, scaling from one side of the wall to the other, and nobody's looking at those.
Yeah.
Hundreds of people crowded. I mean, it takes you a half hour for the crowd to continue to move, for you to get to this small, square painting of the Mona Lisa. And how that image has lived and how that image has drawn. And it tells a story that is interpreted by so many different people. And I just think it's powerful what you're saying is that, you know, we need a generation to know that, hey, you can create that way too. Like you can create something that people will come and they will experience and they will grow in, and it tells your story and it tells somebody else's story. And so I think just, you know, even the idea of not allowing the size of the thing or the way you do the thing to ever rob you of thinking that that is actually somehow going to tell the story of its value.
Yep.
You know, I would have never assumed that was the most valuable piece.
Nah, but here's where I'm gonna
In
mess
the
you
room.
up.
What's up?
How old is that painting?
I don't know.
Hundreds of years at this point, right?
Yeah.
It's still telling the story. Newspapers have come and gone. Magazines are almost come and gone. Now we're at social media. Some of those have come and gone.
Yep.
This painting has outlived them all, and it's continuing to tell the story. So how valuable is that artist that creates that painting of something that needs to be told, and it outlives us? It's an immortal story.
That's so good.
So, so you tell me how much is art needed?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. Let's kind of turn this last corner, and I think as a church, we have hopefully. I mean, I know no church is perfect, but we've tried, I think, to support small black businesses, to support young black families and the community through financial empowerment, which is something you've led the charge on, and just different expressions. Where do you see, because for me, it feels like, I mean, I would have never, thought about this necessity, but where do you see the intersection between like kind of faith and art culture? One, have you seen it done effectively? And two, if you could see a world where faith and art intersected, what would the intersection of those two cultures look like?
I think it's already intersected. I think a lot of, when we take it to a base level, it's a gift. It's a gift from God that we're able to use, you know? Creativity is no different than any other gift, you know? And we're able to, here's the crazy thing about an artist. We're able to birth something that didn't exist.
Yeah.
We're pulling it from our mind into the real world. And if that ain't a spiritual gift, I don't know what is. So I think, and you see a lot of artists telling those stories of their own faith and their own walks in their art. So I think it's already intersected and it's being put to use. And I think the artists that are aware of that are using it very well. There are a lot of Christian artists that are using their talents to tell amazing stories of their own faith and those around them.
Yeah, the part about what else is a spiritual gift, But that is crazy to think about. I mean, when you were saying it, immediately I thought about the Genesis story. Like, what does God do? He creates something out of nothing. He said the earth was formless, it was void, nothing existing, and then God spoke, and God created. And I think it's an appropriate interpretation of God's nature to say that one of the greatest ways that we honor God is through our creative expression. I'm not saying it's the only way, but I think that God's first act was creator. He was creative. He said, it's a blank canvas and I'm going to create something. And we are certainly honoring God when we walk in the same way. So hopefully that empowers people to continue to know the importance of that from a spiritual level. I'll add this question to kind of tag on the back of that. When you think of the church, and I'm even thinking now about the art that we could potentially display in churches. I had a conversation with a pastor, and he was a white pastor, and he was basically saying, like, look, what's one way that I can use my voice to empower the black community? And my statement to him was, I said, preach black stories and preach black scripture. Because the assumption that our culture is not in scripture, or our color or our ethnicity is not there, that we have to inherit this false narrative of white Jesus and like everybody's European in the scripture, but to be able to see ourselves. I said, if you just preach the integrity of the text, that'd be powerful. But then I thought about something that I didn't say then, but I'm thinking about now, but also to show that, right? Because it's one thing to preach it. It's another thing for people to see it, right? Through the imagery that you use and through the stories that you tell. In what ways do you think a church can, at a very practical level, I know we talked about supporting black art, partner with black artists to kind of bring that to life for that intersection to work?
I've actually seen in a lot of churches have galleries where people in their own community are creating imagery to put on their walls, you know, through paint, through drawing, and the different forms that you can use. I've seen that. There's one church in Richmond I can think of that actually has a gallery. So when you walk along their hallway, you see images created. So you see someone with the hand of David, or you see the different images that artists in their local community have created. So,
all right, well,
TLC Gallery.
Now I know. When we get our next building, everybody know the deal. We're now adding to the prayer list gallery. So went from 47,000 square feet to we now need 53,000 square feet.
But even that allows the community of the church to go in, and the very things you're preaching about, they're able to see the visual element. And how much powerful is that? You know, we all know that image of Jesus on the cross that we've seen in churches, right? How much more powerful was it when you saw that image versus the pastor telling you about it?
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
All right, so let's kind of close here. I want to just share a little bit about, the art scene. And this is a movement that you are birthing, that has birthed, and I know it's already beginning to impact so many. Can you just tell us a little bit about the art scene, your heart for it, and how we can continue to connect and support what the art scene has coming up?
Yeah, the art scene, it grew out of something of necessity in some ways. Richmond is an amazing artistic city, but the opportunities for black and brown artists, minority artists, is baffling. If I told you there were over 50 galleries in the city of Richmond, how many of them would you think were black-owned galleries?
10. 1. Wow.
So, if we are to illuminate our stories and tell our stories, where do we tell them at? Where are they housed? Who's curating those stories? Are we curating those stories, or someone from another culture who doesn't know our story is bringing voice? Yeah. And so the art scene grew out of the necessity to create more spaces for our art to thrive, to be seen. If you look at the way the art scene is spelled, it's not S-C-E-N-E. Yeah. It's S-E-E-N, because what wasn't seen is now seen. We're bringing the opportunity to the voiceless to bring voice. It was something that started with me curating a single space. It started with me curating a single art walk, and the city came back and said, let's do more. Other business owners came back and said, let's create more spaces. So everything from us now curating Kelly Lemon's Urban Hang Suite, from us now doing, last year we did over 6 art walks. We're already in conversation. We got some good stuff coming this year, but I wish I could tell you more. But we getting it right. We're getting it right. But let's say we're gonna beat 6 this year, and some of them are gonna be amazing, staggering opportunities. And we're very intentional about all these opportunities, creating them for minority artists. Yes, we're open to all artists, but we're focused on creating as many minority artists as we can get in there, man. And also on the flip side of that, creating programs that teach artists how to be successful. Because there's a difference between a painter and an artist. We can all paint, but we all aren't good at being artists, creating a living off of it. So we created residency programs where we took a young artist who we gave her a 5-year head start. She knows how to do so many things now. The network is big. And then from a standpoint of creating those spaces, not only for them to tell them stories, but to create revenue. In the last 2 years, we've helped artists generate over $30,000 in revenue. Wow. Actually, I'm sorry. That was on the exhibit side. When you include the art walk side, probably closer to $40,000 or $50,000.
Wow.
But these were the same people that are sitting around. If they didn't have those opportunities, they'd have to do something else. And then they wouldn't be able to tell those stories.
Yeah.
So highly motivated, highly thankful. Again, it's another thing where, it was just a God-blessed opportunity when doors open that you didn't even know you were knocking on. That's when you know it's something special. Yeah. So I'm highly excited about what the art scene has done. The first year, it didn't even have a name.
Yeah.
And year 2, last year, it had a name, and the purpose grew and the opportunities grew. So I'm thankful to all our community partners and corporate partners and business partners, and even the Life Church for sowing into us because they saw the vision. So, yeah.
Well, man, I think it's easy to support people like yourself who could just keep all their knowledge, their wisdom, their passion to themselves. One of the things I can say without question is you find ways. It's one thing to wait for something to come to you. You find ways to empower other people, other voices, other backgrounds. And for that, man, I know I speak for many, but I get the opportunity to say it today, to say thank you. Thank you for what you represent as a man of faith, as a man of advocacy, as a man of empowerment. You have empowered people to live in financial freedom. Now you're empowering people to add streams of revenue and doing what they love. You're empowering people to be seen. And I just think, man, that we're better as a city because you're in it. And thank you for the wisdom today, because I think you have shed light on some things that, coming into this conversation, just for y'all to know, we were talking on the phone last week, and you began telling me some stuff, and I was like, man, we got to hop on this. You got to be a part of these conversations. This wasn't a 3-month window. And even it wasn't we planned this out. We're I said, here are a few things I want to talk to you about. And today, and you were done deal. So I'm leaving this conversation more encouraged, but also with greater conviction to be a part of the solution, to make sure that our art, and as you so wonderfully put it, our voices and our stories continue to get told, man. So thank you for that, man. Thank you for what you do. I'm going to leave us with this quote. There's this book that actually talks about art and theology. The name of the book is called Art and Theology. And it says, Christian community can be and should be the most integrated community in the world. It should be the institution that bear Christ's name, where we should be an oasis of tears and an oasis of stories. Like Mary, Martha, and Lazarus, we should each be still the turning point of the world. And so my hope is that particularly those of us who are watching who are Christians and believers, and even if you're not, we're all invited to this, but I want to challenge us to see our support of art, and for those of us who even feel a call to it, our work in art, as you so wonderfully put it, a spiritual gift to the world, so that we can continue to tell the stories and create communities that are oasis of experience, so that we can all be the turning point of the world. So I'm grateful, man. How can people continue to stay connected before we close out?
Man, you know, we're on the art scene, everything social media, but 𝐂𝐈𝐅𝐄, and also the website as well, theartscene.art. Stay plugged in from exhibits to the art walks and different opportunities to engage and interact with the arts. We're out there creating them in classes as well to understand and learn how to appreciate it as well. We have an amazing residency program that is highly supported, where we sew into young artists to teach them the ins and outs. So through all that, they can stay connected to us.
Dope.
And thank you for having me and again, bringing a voice to this subject and this matter. I appreciate
it, man. Well, look, family, we are grateful that you spent this time with us. Listen to me. We have some amazing conversations curated for you all this month to hopefully invite all of us into a journey to see and appreciate the Black experience, but also as we celebrate each other, our ability to find the momentum, the fuel, not just to celebrate in February, but to run all year round, bringing the Black experience and bringing our Black culture to the world, because we know that what we are and who we are matters. So I love y'all, and I can't wait to talk to you the next time around. See you soon.